Hello everyone and welcome to Nail 3D. So this is the video about Unreal Engine and the new mesh editing tools in 5.4, 5.5. So what I'm going to do in this video is basically I have this Technic Tracker plugin which contains the live streaming for the live link of the camera subject, but also we have this camera in space and we have the special actor which for choosing preset of the crane, trying to align the crane rotation and translation in order to fit the target goal camera position. So how it's done underneath. So if we go to this crane and if we open this skeleton, you can see here that we have this mesh and we have the skeleton joints here. So there is the joints for column, there is the joints for wheel rotation and for beams, and also for the head and neck or neck part of this crane. And the simulation, what it's doing of this actor, of crane actor, is basically computing the rotation of the columns, translation setting of beams, and rotation of camera, the crane head, in order to align for the target camera position. And in this particular video, I'm going to use a new model, which is not have any setup yet for the skeleton or skin biting, in order to be driven by the skeleton. And I'm going to try to do this with the new mesh editing tools. Let's start our experiment. And to be honest, I didn't try this mesh tools editing before, so it will be first time for me. I just had a very quick look on the utilities we have there and functionality, and for me it looks like well aligned with the main practice we have in Maya Blender or 3D Studio Max even. I remember this old times with the skin or die, where it was absolutely fantastic possibility to adjust weights almost by manually stepping on the weights value, and that gives a very nice result. Yeah, but it was many times ago. And then NG skin tools, skin weights painting in Maya, this plugin and extension, it's pretty amazing what is relax functionality compared to skin painting smooth function we have on the brush in Maya. So we have relaxed algorithm as well in Unreal, so I'm looking forward to try it out. So I already imported the mesh here, and actually you see the type of skeletal mesh. That's because during the import on FBX I just choose this skeletal mesh type instead of static mesh, because yeah, we're going to have the animated mesh actually, not the static one. So let's open this mesh. And here we have this crane. You see that there is the root bone imported by default. We could move the crane all around together with the geometry. And yeah, there is no any bone hierarchy at the moment. And our editing tools, as we have this plugin on by default, we have this toggle on the main toolbar. And once we have this toggle on, you see, we have this left panel with the different categories. So the skeleton is where we actually could add some bones, edit existing bones, reorient, etc. And we could cancel and exit this mode. And then the skin, which is also interesting. So it's between the geometry and skeleton. We bind skin cluster, and then we edit weights for our bones. It's a per vertex skin weight. So quite classic approach, I would say. And I also would like to prepare some work layout for my skeleton creation. So having 3D viewport is nice, but on the same time, like, it's much easier to place bones in the orthographic projection. So what I would like to do here is to add one additional viewport. So I'm going to enable the second one. And instead of perspective, I'm going to this orthographic and put the front, and that will show up my side view of my model. And I also would like to switch to the, instead of lit, into the wireframe mode. So we have quite nice measurement tape here. Yeah, So this one I can make it smaller. So I will have some space here as the main walk area. And this is 3D view, something just to verify and look around to see how my skeleton looks like. And also on skeleton, in the show menu, not in the character menu, there is the bones section, and I'm going to show all the hierarchy, not only selected bones, just to see all the bones that I've created in my 3D view as well. So let's enter the edit skeleton. What we have here, this is my geometry. We have several modes: new, create new bones, and edit. So the create new is N, if we press it, right? And as far as I see, if we select some root bone and we start creating the bones here, they will be placed as the child of the selection. So this is quite convenient and quite popular approach. And there's also projection type, so that we could do it in a camera plane, on a mesh, or within mesh. So it's basically when we're trying to place the joint, it will try to put it in the middle of this mesh, I would say. Probably that's what I mean here. So let's start with the root bone, and then from here we need to create some columns, joints, and then we need to create some beam joints. You see there is the division of each section, and this section should be able to move back and forth like inside and outside of another beam, so that the crane could change its length. And there is this head part and neck part, so we need some rotation here. So we need pivot points for that. So let's start with the root selected. I pressed here, 1, and basically we need to move it only in front, or sorry, in up axis. So we could zero out the all other local axes. Then go to the next one, let it be here. Also zero out all the rest axes, then here. And then we go here. And I think that's it. So that will be my column. So that could be even beam part. Also only in one axis. And then we could move forward and say, so once we align that one, we could continue creating bones in front and have these beams. So now I can go to the edit mode. I think my bones looks quite nice here. So we could select all the hierarchy. They are in the middle, looks fine for me in all directions. Now we have to name it in the similar way how my previous crane join name set looks like. So this base for the column joints should be named as the joint columns. And then the next one should be like a joint column 1. This one joint column 2. So you see this one part is the separate metal insertion here. Then this one will be joint column 3. And this one should be already joint beams, like root bone for the beams part. This column part is something that I think it should be rotated around this joint. So where should be the rotation part? I think this one looks like a static one. It could be rotated around this joint, which is the column 1. Yeah, probably somewhere here. Because this one also should be like a rigid attached. Yeah, and this one is the pivot point. So we have to place this bone as the pivot point to be tilted up and down. So that's quite important to have this joint aligned. So we could move this a little bit down. So if we show lid here to see what is our attachment, probably it's our rotation point. So that's something like the pivot point that the beam should be rotated around. So the next step, I think, I could insert some joints for the wheels. And in that case, I would imagine there have to be some joint like a pivot point so that we have the center of rotation and the joint. Rotation of a joint will trigger the whole geometry, the whole shape to be rotated. So there have to be some positioning just inside the shape in the absolute center. In that case, the rotation will not cause any offsetting or vibration. And in order to do that, in the edit skeleton, we have this mode of select vertices, edges on triangles to place bone. I think that's perfect fit for our need. So in our case, we have to just select these vertices here so that we have the wheel selected. And we have to, where is this button? Yeah. I see it. We need to create. Okay. So this is the create mode. So we need to add bone and then we go to this mode once again. And then we have this button create activated so that we could create the button and press the button, sorry, and the joint will be placed in absolute center of my selection, which is what we need. So then another one we're going to create by selecting next wheel geometry. Like this, create again, and then here, create again, and then here. So every time I'm selecting the root, because in that case, the next created joint will be parented to it. So now all these joints, I can drag and drop to have this reparenting under the root. So that's quite nice. We also have this context menu where we can unparent if needed, rename, or do some duplication and copy paste. So what I would like to do now is to have the similar structure of joints. You see that I have this root bone not down the base, but almost in the middle of the base. And then also we have these front axis and rear axis joints just between two wheels. Yeah, so let's repeat this. So first of all, the root joint. So when we are in edit mode, we should be able to just move it up. So let's select the joint and try to move it. Yeah. By the way, I just want to highlight that you have this mode to update children. If you use this mode, then you offset the whole skeleton, right? So we don't need it right now, so we could just put it inside the base. And then for the wheels, so for the wheels, first of all, we see here that even the wheel joint is created, but it looks like the orientation is not correctly aligned. So in my case, I would like to have, so if we select this joint and let's have not a world, but the local axis of the joint. And you see this is absolutely weird alignment. We don't need this. It would be really nice to have something that the wheel rotated only around one axis. So let's reorient the joint. And this we have this option to reorient, where we have this primary and also we have the secondary joint. So let's try to reorient. But that will be using the direction that we have here connected. I probably just need to reorient it to the world center. How we can do this? What is it? Is plane? No, this one is still. It's correct the forward axis, but it's not actually aligned with the one world axis, so that we could have the rotation of a wheel. So maybe what we can do here is basically we could temporarily, even all these four joints, we could unparent them, and then we could select one joint and do the orientation of it. No, it's still not doing this. Yeah, because it's oriented to the center. Okay, so what we can do with that? It's still not oriented correctly. What we can do with that? Maybe we can just zero out the rotation. Yeah, that's perfect. So that we have this x-axis as the one axis of rotation. That's what we need. Let's do the same for other joints. So just zero out the local rotations. And all the joints will be aligned. That's exactly what we need to fix the orientation. Yes. And yeah, so we could under the root, we have it here. So now we could make the middle joint between these two joints. So I just select one and duplicate it. Now it does work. So okay, let's try with a copy and paste. So not everything working well. Maybe in next Unreal Engine builds that will be more stable. Alright, so we have here middle joint between two wheels. And let's rename it. In our case, it's the joint for the front axis. If I'm right, no, that's one, not the front. That's actually the rear axis. And this one is going to be front axis. So we copy that, we paste, and that should be front. Yes. So the front axis, I also have to align x value to 0, so that will be between two wheels. And now two wheels, so this one too, I'm going to, no, it should be one by one, right? I'm reparent them to the front axis, and this rear, I'm going to reparent rear wheels to rear axis. And now both of these axes I'm going to reparent to root joint. Alright, so it's going to have, it's began to have a look of what I really looking for. That's nice. And also the joints are aligned, so the rotation will be using only one early axis, which is quite important in our case. And here is what I've got after I place and name all the needed bones here. And also I made a correct alignment for the bone here, because that have to be the control of the final placement of the camera. So it have to face the similar way how my simulation is expected. And one small tip here, that if you edit skeleton and if you go to another model where these bones already have the correct hierarchy, basically you always have the possibility to select the bones, copy them, and then paste into another model. So that's also the trick I've used for beans to be precise on this alignment of the final bones. Yeah. So I think that's for our skeleton. The hierarchy is ready, and yeah, we can go to next step, which is skin weights, and then our crane could be controlled by the skeleton. For editing skin weights, so by default, once I created new joints, there are no weights assigned to it. So all the weights are just directly assigned to my root bone. So we have, with the root bone selected, everything white. So there's the color representation of the influence of the bone. And we have several modes here, which is the brush mode, is when you have this brush to paint some weights. I think it's more like for organic surfaces, like characters, because in that case you need to mix influence from several bones into one vertex. In this case particular, we have most of the parts are just rigid, so we don't need to share the weights between several bones on per vertex. We just need to assign the vertices to a specific bone, which will do some functionality like rotate and translate, etc. So in our case, we need to select and assign the influence in full. So we go to mesh mode. This is where we're selecting some mesh and we can do manipulations with it. And it's really nice that we have directly possibility to work with values. Like for example here. So the approach how I'm going to assign all the weights is I'm just selecting some part of the mesh, and I know that these other vertices are connected of this through the polygons, through the shared edges. So I can just go to this edit selection and press flood. So you see that all the connected the vertices are now selected. I can just assign for this. So if this is the rear right wheel, right? So I'm going to select this rear right wheel joint and then press replace with 1. And that's it. So then I go to another one, I select some vertices, flood, and then go to this selected joint and replace. And that's basically the whole procedure. I'm going to go through and assign each beam here and each part. So for example, if I select the beam 4, which is going to have this last beam extension back and forth, I just select this, I press the same flood, and then replace. So now this joint is controlled, all these vertices are controlled by beam 4. And the same for gravity, for neck and head part. I can also do the same trick. So for example, this is the neck joint. It should be rotated in one axis, like a horizontal rotation. And the gravity bone should be rotated in this direction. Just depends on the tilting of the angle. The gravity bone is always trying to have the camera alignment upright. So this is the associated weights we have to assign. So for example, for gravity, we need to select these meshes. I'm pressing and holding shift in order to add selection, and then flood, and then replace. So we quickly assign that part, then we hold and shift, add selection, flood, and that will be my neck part. And then the simpler selecting, flood, and applying the head part. So you see, it's very quickly and very intuitive how to work with the rigid surface here as well. And it's really nice that they have the possibility to work per value. It was always a good practice. I remember from all the old times, even in 3D Studio Max, all these tools we have. So the working with the weights, even for organic surfaces, sometimes you want to be sure that you, for some vertices, you're mixing 50 by 50 or 30 by like 40 by 60 or something, so that you will have very nice tension, predictable tension. In the brush, sometimes Relax do a very good job on averaging and fixing some issues on your mixed weights, joint weights per vertex. But that's a different question. So right now, the model I'm working with is fully rigid parts. So that's approach we can go here. And here's my final result. So I have the root, which goes to the base part. I have every wheel, and then I have the column part assigned. Then I have every beam here and here, and the main beam part. And then I have gravity, neck, and head joint. So that's ready, and we can basically exit, and don't forget to accept the skin weights, by the way. So, and we could just try it out to rotate some wheel and see how it behaves now, if it's controlling the geometry. Or we could go and check the beams. If we do some rotation of beams part, you see now it's controlling this part as well. And maybe for gravity, if we do also some test rotation here, then the neck part we have. So it seems to be well assigned and it's very quick to do. So for my purpose of these cranes, I think the functionality we have in mesh editing tools is really good enough to do all the needed job here. So there is no need to switch to another application and everything could be done here. And yeah, it's pretty amazing how much tools they concentrated here from different good practices, and looking forward for the improvements here as well, but it's not everything works. For example, I was trying to duplicate the joint in this skeleton editing and it didn't work. But it's a small minor things. In general, I was able to go through the process and make all needed preparations for the model to be used in the simulation. Hope the video is helpful and thank you for watching. See you next videos. Bye.